Welcome to the Call Legacy podcast. I'm James Keys. That's Tunde Ogunlana. And welcome to a bonus call-out episode this week. And we wanted to discuss the Bad Bunny selection as the Super Bowl halftime act, and then the reaction to that, which seemed pretty outsized. So, Tunde, give me your thoughts. Thoughts on Bad Bunny being announced as the Super Bowl act for this coming year, and also the controversy we've seen following the announcement, up to the announcement of a competing act, a rival act.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I say this with a smile. This guy, Bad Bunny, and me have an interesting relationship. I'm the only one that knows about it.
Oh.
He clearly, he doesn't know me, but I know him. And I say this as a joke with a smile because, Bad Bunny is when I realized I was middle-aged a few years ago, that I'm old. Because it's like when he won these Grammys and stuff, and he's like, he sold 1 billion friggin' album or something. He had 1 billion downloads or streams on Spotify, whatever the numbers. Like, he's the highest grossing dude like ever, right? And I literally never heard of the guy. And that's when I realized, man, I'm getting old. I'm not cool. I'm not into the cool stuff, obviously. I'm still sitting there listening to Tupac and Biggie and Nas, and stuff from the 90s. So That's what Bad Bunny represents to me, is a reminder that I'm not cool and I'm old. And so
as if you need another one.
So that's my first
provided
response.
one for you.
Yeah, that's my response. Now we can talk about the Super Bowl.
See, that's the question though, is like, I wonder if Bad Bunny being announced as a Super Bowl act was the moment for a lot of people. Apparently,
yeah, maybe a lot of maybe.
I am like completely divorced from what's popular, what's hot, and they had a negative reaction to finding out that the world had kind of passed them by as far as what was
James.
Cool and what wasn't.
I think that's true because it's the same feeling, maybe, but we react different. See, my reaction is just to sit down and shut up and watch the show and take it.
Yeah. Learn something new.
Yeah, behave like my mom had to behave when she had to watch some rapper, Run DMC doing the Super Bowl, 25 years ago or something. But other people behave in other ways, right? Where they got to create new realities.
Well, or they can't let go of whatever reality that they had, whatever reality they had in their mind, from 20, 30, whatever, how many years ago, that has to remain that, And so, for me, I was not surprised. I was aware of Bad Bunny and his popularity, and it's outsized popularity, one of the biggest acts in the world. And so seeing him in the Super Bowl did not surprise me at all. I was very surprised by the reaction. I started digging, like, well, why are people so upset about this? Again, Puerto Rican. So now, for many people, American is not American citizen. It means something very narrow and specific, but it's an American citizen, so we have that. So, but there's this throw off of, well, he's not American enough. There's the language issue, which I was a complete blind spot for me, but apparently that I've read that's a big issue for people. One of the things that stood out to me about that, the language issue in particular though, is that I think there's an age there's something with age showing in that, and maybe just kind of the culture you expose yourself to, because I'm not, I've listened to Bad Bunny songs in Spanish, and, they sound good. If it sounds good, I'm fine with it. I don't need to know what's being said. But it reminded me a lot of I look at anime. Well, I don't watch anime as much. My kids have watched anime, but my anime is like Dragon Ball Z, which goes back. That's from the 90s. They've had newer things, but a lot of anime is subtitled, and so you'll hear the Japanese, and you can read the English if you want, but just you're consuming something that was made in another language, and so I'm kind of desensitized to that. But I imagine that there may be people that are very sensitive to the idea that this was made in another language, and may make them feel otherized, like, oh, this isn't for me because it's not in my language. So I imagine that the language has a lot to do with it, as well as, I'm sure there's, some superiority complexes and all that other stuff mixed into this stew. And then online, anytime you can put somebody's weaknesses, somebody's insecurities get brought to mind, they become very easy and subject to manipulate, very easy to manipulate and subject to manipulation. So once the controversy, once that opportunity where you see people's insecurity and and so forth pop up, then it's obvious that that's gonna run its course, because there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of power to be gotten from once you see somebody has an insecurity on something, playing on that, playing it up, so that they come to you and run for you for protection.
Well, that's been the story of American life for the last decade plus.
Longer than
Obviously,
that,
that's why
but
the
we've seen it online
insecurities
for the
of
last decade plus.
no, but I mean the insecurities of people being replaced, right? And think about what you're saying. I mean, on a serious note, this can play into that because the Super Bowl is seen as the all-American thing, right? Like, and then the fact that a lot of people are being told this guy is only going to perform in Spanish and all that. Maybe he'll do Spanish and English. But the bottom line is, it's just like having President Obama as the president. The symbolism is things are changing, and some people don't like that. And this is a great conversation, James, because you're right in saying that they're saying by those people. I'm not going to blanket everybody with this, but those people who are proposing and that they're going to do a separate halftime show. First of all, they're taking a big risk, which may pay off, but I'm going to make my call here. I don't think it will because the Super Bowl itself is going to be the draw. And so a lot of people aren't going to change their channel. A lot of people are going to leave it on the game. And so, let's see how they do it. But it's again, it used to be when me and you were kids was a dog whistle, this idea of who's American, right? And now they're showing us because you and I can accept that a Puerto Rican guy is American. And we don't have to have this big conversation about it. You and I are Black American dudes. We're not Hispanic, but we can acknowledge that Puerto Rico is part of America. But you're right. There's other people that when they say the word American or think of what an American is, it shouldn't be someone like him. And that's the tension that we have here.
Well, it's not just that, remember. It's that plus the fact that they derive a lot of their self-worth from that belief. That
the
American
right.
is a certain thing. And so if they derive a lot of their self-worth from that, and then that becomes threatened, then what may seem like an outsized reaction to you or me makes more sense because it's like, oh no, then that's attacking their self-worth. They think that they mean something or they matter based on this belief, and then that's being challenged by inclusion. If inclusion challenges that.
Well, but let's broaden this out because what you're talking about, James, and I'll say this for the audience so people can look it up, is a term called the psychic wage, which is brought by W.E.B. Du Bois, the famous writer, literary. And it's a very true thing in American culture for some people. But I'll say this, James, because where this reminds me is that because this is why I think we're not going to get away from this anytime soon. And I think this goes into what we talked about in part one this week, which was proxy wars culturally. If you think about the last two Super Bowls, James, in the Super Bowl of January or February of 2024, you had the biggest star at that time, who's still one of the biggest stars, Taylor Swift, the first person to ever make over $1 billion on a tour. And that turned into a cultural fight that brought in the former president of the United States. Remember the whole thing that they were going to her and her boyfriend, who played for the Chiefs, were going to, after the game, they were going to rig it so that they won. And then after the game, they were going to get married at the 50-yard line. Remember all that? And then they were going to endorse the other political candidate. And then this year, in February of 2025, it was a rapper who was one of the most famous rappers and who's a big grossing guy, grossing in terms of revenue and selling albums, named Kendrick Lamar. And again, a certain part of this country found that totally offensive, and it became this cultural proxy war. So I think you're right, and you're onto something, James, that there's a part of America that doesn't like how America has evolved, that these other people actually have the kind of sales and that they have the support and the adoration of a majority of Americans. And we see this also with the movies and things like that, that just as things change culturally, it's a loud vocal minority of Americans that won't let us change easily. So,
no, I mean, I get what you're saying. If you go back the last few years, you had Rihanna, you had Usher, you had Kendrick Lamar. So those are very well-known, big-time performers. Bad Bunny. I wonder those performers, though, I will say, are still all I look at as a half a generation or a full generation. They're a little older, whereas Bad Bunny is like current generation in my view, which is all younger than me. So I wonder if there's an age aspect to this as well, where in this instance, the old folks, I'm sure in the 90s, the old folks were mad anytime it was a younger act, and then again, Bad Bunny is a young act, like that's the target and so forth. That's younger than a Rihanna act. That's younger than a Usher act, and so forth. So I wonder if there's an age aspect to that. And so, but I'm interested, like providing an alternative. Hey, I mean, that's the market system, like people are mad about this. I respect the complaining much less than the say, hey, we'll do our own thing. We'll get some old dude and we'll do some old, some stuff that's old, we'll make it about something else, but we can get an old dude, So I'm interested to see it play out, but again, I can respect saying an alternative. Hey, there's a market for somebody who's like old, or somebody who fits certain people's views of an American. And so we're going to try to exploit that market, fine, whatever. Like that's a market system is something that can provide more benefits. But, if they get trounced, then they're as far as eyeballs, then they're going to know, what the market thought about it though. And then I'm sure there'll be victims then, for something else. And that's kind of just, some people do tend to see themselves as victims no matter what happens. And so we got to hear about it, like we all share the society and so forth. So, but again, interesting to me, just in the sense that it does bring out how much this kind of stuff means to people, certain people, and because that's what really, like, again, something that may not even be on my radar is like the most important thing in the world for 2 days to somebody, so, but no, I think we can wrap
I'll just say this last joke, James. We live in Florida. This is the same energy that we have here in our state legislature that made rainbows illegal, literally, right? That made it illegal to put a rainbow on any state property. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I saw a rainbow in the sky the other day, literally, like last week. And I thought to myself, man, dude, what kind of mentality makes a rainbow bad? And that's it. So this is who we're dealing with.
Yeah. But no, we appreciate everybody for joining us on this episode of Call Like I See It. Subscribe to the podcast, rate it, review it, tell us what you think, send it to a friend. Till next time, I'm James Keys.
I'm Tunde Ogunlana.
All right, we'll talk soon.